Christopher Kurka. And what's your district?
District 7. I represent the city of Wasilla and a little bit of the surrounding area.
So we're here at the Legislative Listening Session here at the Anchorage Baptist Temple. What's so good about this event?
You know, sometimes you have a lot of events where the politicians will spend all day talking about how they're so wonderful and all the wonderful things they're doing for Alaska, and they don't take the time to listen. And I'm really thankful to Senator Reinbold for organizing this and letting us join her as sponsors to come and listen to Alaskans and let them tell their stories.
You were here during the last listening session that took place.
I called in for that, yes.
Okay. Did you get anything different out of this? Is this almost like a take two sort of experience? Or
this was a little more structured. There was a lot more folks that were able to come to that when the weather wasn't quite as adverse. And I had some more expert testimony, if you will, from folks that have done more research. And Attorney Mario Bird was very helpful in kind of laying out some of the legal rights and ramifications and such. It was probably more constructive, I think.
So, what do you see the good that comes out of stuff like this? Particularly for the people of Anchorage, what kind of good is it for them to be able to come here to have members of the legislature come and listen to them?
Right. Well, I think the message from me, the good news from me is, and what I said at the end there, to Alaskans, is that your voice matters. And that, in Alaska, for the last 3 election cycles, and I guess I would say the system works. And this is going to sound crazy, but the system works. The last 3 election cycles, we've seen between a 25%, I believe, and a 35% turnover rate in the legislature, in the House. In the Republican Minority Caucus, I'm one of 8.5 freshmen. My colleague who's sitting next to me today, Representative Eastman, after this cycle will likely be one of the second most senior Republicans. And he's only been in for 5 years. There's been turnover. So while you feel like your elected representatives aren't listening, the ones that don't listen tend to get replaced recently, and that's encouraging to me. And the message I wanted to give folks tonight, at the end after they testified, and what I experienced in Juneau this last fall, is that your voice matters, and you matter. And there's this kind of sense of a desperation, I think, with folks that their input doesn't matter and that they're ignored. And yeah, politicians can be terrible people that ignore their constituents. But if you don't take no for an answer, if you say, this far and no farther, if you say, no, your job is to defend my rights. It's like in Scripture, the parable of the widow who comes to the unjust judge. The judge doesn't care. Like him with the politicians, they don't care. But eventually, you're annoying enough, and they do what they need to happen, and justice is served. And that's what I liken the situation with COVID to. A lot of Alaskans, their rights are being trampled on. And when you stand up and you shout and say, wait a second, this is what happened to my body, my choice, when it comes to the choice to get the jab or not, that needs to be reiterated. And I think that Alaskans have a real voice, and they have a real impact.
All right, so I saw that on January 6th, which is in a couple of days, you're going to have another legislative hearing session?
Yes, in Wasilla. The weather's a little troublesome right now. The location got flooded. We're doing that at, so we may change venues. It might be cleaned out in time. But yes, Representative Eastman and I will have a local listening session, more localized to Wasilla, because that's the area we represent.
Thank you very much.
Get involved in your community council. Ask to be on a board or a committee. You guys can all make a difference. It only takes 3% of the population to turn the world around. So you all need to engage and get involved. I'm going to just make a few remarks first on a couple of things that my colleagues have said. Because that bill died in the House, it ended up forcing Governor Dunleavy's hand this agenda. He ended up getting the FEMA workers, etc., up here, you guys. So the good thing is then everyone's trying to shift, and so they don't really understand what the real big things are going on behind the scenes. But the bottom line is it forced his hand to do something with the FEMA workers and bring all those federal workers in. So those are the kind of things that you should watch and pay attention to. So I'm really proud of the House that they were able to do that. Sometimes killing legislation is more important than getting it passed. So sometimes we're in a stalemate and stuff, because sometimes legislation is not good. So sometimes don't complain when not a whole lot gets done, because it's a lot of people are trying to kill some really bad bills, and there's some really, really bad bills in session this year that we need to kill. And so that's why one of the reasons we want to network with the users group is because it's all up to the people. When you call in and testify, it makes a difference. And I'm really thankful that you all, especially President Kurka brought that up about the people make the difference. Your testimony, your involvement, your engagement is a huge difference. Makes a huge difference.